What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel. My place is officially way too under construction to even think about filming anything, so luckily Lawyer Ray very graciously allowed me to film over at his place for, however long we might need for the channel. So let's get into a recap of what went down on part 1 of the Teen Mom 2 Season 8 reunion special. We first start off with a recap of the fight that happened and a behind the scenes little look at what was brewing in between Kail's confrontation with Briana and Briana's, subsequent retaliation on Kail on stage. So you see Briana backstage getting mic'd up next to Dr. Drew, and Dr. Drew's like, this is gonna be fun. She's like, no it ain't. He's like, come on, it's a job. And ironically, very ironically, Briana goes, well, some people need to start treating it like a job, before going on stage and literally screaming and swearing in front of everybody and trying to attack somebody. Like, Bri, were you treating it like a job when you bum rushed Kail on stage like that? Briana and Brittany were the first two on stage. Why Brittany was even on stage with Briana, I don't know, but I digress. And Briana admitted that she regretted the fight and that she had said some things that she shouldn't have said, but she wouldn't really give details. It seemed like Dr. Drew already knew that Kail was upset about what Bri said about her kids, quote unquote, about her kids. And he was trying to dig into that with her, but she refused to really open up about it. And so he asked Brittany to tell him a little bit more about it instead. And Brittany was like, honestly, all of this stuff shouldn't have happened. Like, why are you out here fighting over some guy who ain't even shit, some guy who you're not even with? Like, it was ridiculous. Do you really think Javi is worth this, Briana? And you've got me looking stupid because I'm your sister and you know I'd fight for you whether you're right or wrong. And now look at us. Her love of Briana is so cute, you guys. Like, I know I'm always teasing about where's her life, where's her job, where's her man, but she loves her sister to death. And that's a really beautiful thing to see. And Briana ultimately said that the fight never would have happened if Kail did not try to fight her. And honestly, I believe her, because Briana quite obviously is not a fighter. You could just tell she's all talk, no action. Next up, we get rid of Brittany and talk a little bit more about the rest of Briana's story, where Dr. Drew and Nessa get really excited about the fact that grown-ass Devon has a job. But unfortunately, it turns out that he went back to being a deadbeat dad who'd rather sleep all day and play video games than bond with his daughter. I was really, really surprised to hear that, especially after the way their last scene of the season was. Remember, Devon was talking about how he was happy to get to spend more time with not only Nova, but her half-sister, Stella, as well. Briana was thanking him for his help with her, and he's like, you know what? I missed out on all of these moments with Nova, and so I'm so happy to get to see them in Stella. And I really, really thought that once he was on his feet, had money, had a job, had a car, he would be wanting to, dying to spend more time with Nova. People always say it's the Dejesus family who keeps these men away from their kids, but it looks like these men just ain't shit at the end of the day. It really is heartbreaking that Briana wound up with 2 deadbeat baby daddies. Most of the other girls, 90% of the other girls have both fathers active in their children's lives. In Chelsea's case, the first one isn't, but Cole has stepped up and erased that so much that it doesn't even really matter too much. Of course it's always going to affect Aubrey, but it's, Cole is just so good with her that it's not this heartbreaking, gaping hole in her heart. She could look at Cole as a father at this point. But poor Bri batted 0 for 2 in the baby daddy department, and Dr. Drew keeps trying to push the fact that this is a cyclical thing for her, because she grew up without a father either. And she ultimately starts breaking down and crying, wondering how it's possible to be a father who does not want to know anything about your child, who does not want to be involved with your children. It was just, man, sad. Dr. Drew then says one thing about Javi is that he's a great and present father, and then he pries on whether or not that was the reason that Briana was attracted to him in the first place. But between you and me, I don't think Briana was ever genuinely attracted to Javi. She seems to be into deadbeat fuckboys. She seems like the type to think that a stand-up man like Javi would be quote unquote corny. At the end of her segment, Dr. Drew suggested that Briana, start looking at seeing therapists, and she gave him a really dirty look that suggested that she felt like she was above something like that. But it is very clear that she absolutely needs one. I don't understand the stigma against these sorts of things. MTV goes above and beyond to provide these people with all of the mental health care in the world. This stuff is so expensive. So many people would be alive if only they had access to the sort of resources that these women have, and still they take them for granted. It's really sad to see. After commercial break, Devon blesses our screen, all accessorized. Like, he's got his little jean jacket, his bandana, his necklaces, everything. And Nessa joins us as well. Dr. Drew asks Devon about his time staying with Briana and her family, and he says it was just a necessary evil in order for him to save money. And guys, it was probably for the litany of accessories that he decided to wear for this appearance. I tell you, this guy loves him some him. Dr. Drew said that Briana told him and Nessa that he went back to being a deadbeat, and Devon just laughed it off and said that Briana invited him and other baby daddies and Javi to her home for a Thanksgiving dinner, and he was not open to being one of her little hoes there. He was like, it was so weird that she wanted all these like people that she's like been with at the same table breaking bread over turkey. Hell no, I'm not a hoe like that. In fact, he admits that he had a really dark Thanksgiving alone in a hotel room eating McDonald's with some brown liquor. Dr. Drew says he wants to see more from Devon because he knows that he's capable of more, and Nessa agrees, but they both seem to take the fact that he's a deadbeat dad like really lightly and casually. Like, for some reason, instead of like pushing on why he's not present in his daughter's life, what he needs like from Briana, from himself, from his own family, you know, from MTV, I don't know, in order to be more present. No, the question is, so would you date Briana again? Obviously not. Like, anyone who watches the show, even like one simple episode, would know that the answer is obviously not. Like, the door is closed in my Nini voice. So why even bother asking that? Like, and what relevance does that have to his parenting ability? He doesn't need to date Briana to be a present father for their child. That should be like the one and only thing on his mind. So obviously, Devon says no, he's not going to. And so they ask him about his other love interests. Again, who gives a nephew CK? Like, we want to know what he's doing for our sweet, beautiful Nova. And he's like, oh, I got a couple girlfriends. And then they ask him, okay, so these girlfriends that you've got, when do you introduce them to Nova? When the hell does Devon introduce himself to Nova? We just went over the fact that he doesn't see her. So if he's not seeing her, how the hell are these women seeing her? After Devon, we move on over to Kail and her aqua eyeshadow, all proud of that ratchet ass little fight that she started. Like, this is Bad Girls Club and not Teen Mom 2. She brags about wanting to quote unquote square up backstage. And guys, it's amazing how different these two are post-fight. Remember, Briana and Brittany were all cowered over. They looked so remorseful and sorry and upset that like Kail even brought them to that level, and Kail's all big and bad like, oh, I squared up with her. I did it without a camera. I'm a gangster. Dr. Drew asks about how hitting Briana would even make things better for Kail. Like, why even resort to violence? And Kail says that it would shut Briana up, and people cheer like it's something to be proud of. Like, honestly, I was quite disturbed by that. This was the same situation in OG when Amber went to beat up Farrah and people were cheering. Like, guys, that's not the way you conduct yourself as an adult, especially as a parent. It's not a good look. It absolutely isn't. When Dr. Drew asked her if there's anything she regrets about it, hopefully the fight, like Briana and Brittany regretted the fight, she's like, no, I only regret not hitting Brittany first. And again, the audience claps. Absolutely ratchet and so hypocritical from the same girl who left the reunion last year after starting all this drama, claiming that she didn't sign up for Jerry Springer. We as viewers are left to think about the complete hypocrisy of it all, while MTV shows a little montage of Kail's season, and after it ends, Dr. Drew asks her to like name one word that describes how she feels about it, and she says fake. And he's like, fake? What do you mean? She's like, Javi and Briana, I think they're so fake. Javi is such a master manipulator. You literally forget that you hate him when you're in his presence. Like, so much so that like you accidentally bang him, I guess, right? She accuses him of being a love and sex addict, and Dr. Drew agrees, but I think the same thing can be said of Kail, judging by her inability to remain single for like any more than like 24, maybe 27, 28 hours. She then ends up saying that she thinks that both of them did this thing for airtime. She's like, they were just faking the funk for more airtime. And it's not just Briana, it's not just Javi, I think it's the two of them, which is weird because in the second last episode or the last episode, Javi comes to her house and says that Roxanne said the same thing, that he just does these things for publicity. And Kail acted completely shocked and like disgusted that Roxanne would ever even say such a thing. So some realty gets spilled when she talks about how Briana was not even supposed to be the girl that Javi went to Disney World with. He originally had another girl. I don't even think it's Lauren, the one who's pregnant now. I think it's the other one. Like, he was really juggling them at this time, y'all. And that Kail put the kibosh on that by texting the girl and telling her, listen, you are not ready to be meeting my child. Like, this is just not gonna happen, whatever. How funny is it that Kail suddenly thinks there's such a thing as bringing a new partner around your children too quickly? She brought Jordan around Isaac hella quickly, Javi as well. Then with Lincoln, Chris was brought around Lincoln really quickly. Then she had Lux. Literally, Lux was less than 2 months old when a new guy, Dionysus, like the guy with the Greek name, I keep forgetting what his name was sleeping over at her house. Like, her stitches had not even healed at that point. That's not even everybody. Becky, there was Dom, there's probably people we don't even know about that she's brought around her children extremely quickly. But, you know, hypocrisy is just her thing. This is Kail's world. We're all just living in it. So they talk about 50-50 custody. Kail says that she's not happy about it, which is understandable as a parent, but she does understand why it needs to be done in the best interest of her children. When it came to the topic of Chris filing for emergency custody, Kail said that she laughed at the request because her relationship was always really up and down, and Chris never really tried to see Lux, per her, prior to that, so it was just so shocking and weird. It turns out that Chris now has 4 hours a week visitation that is supervised with Lux, but the baby actually gets to go see him and his mom whenever because she's got a good relationship with his mom. Like this past weekend, she allowed them to see him. Kail's not sure she's open to getting married again because she's scared of loving somebody the same way she loved Chris and it ending as badly as that relationship ended. She says she's still in love with Chris, which is interesting considering she's banging Javi, Becky, Dom, and some other dude. And Dr. Drew calls her out on being the sex and love addict, and then she starts crying. And I swear to God, this girl is like Stan from that Eminem song. And he also tells Kail that he doesn't think that their relationship is love, it's just intensity, and that she is addicted to the intensity. We then find out that Dom is the latest member of the revolving door club of Kail's friendships, and Kail claims that they never had a relationship. She doesn't count it as a relationship because they never had sex, but if you recall, during Dom's little press tour, she claims otherwise. Barbara is on stage next, and she tells us that Jenelle probably didn't come because David wouldn't allow her to come on the show without him, which is, you know, obviously a massive red flag. She says that Jenelle still doesn't answer her texts, and apparently Jace, for a period of time, was getting violent with her, Barbara, which is quite frightening considering the host of other troubling behavior that Jace has exhibited. None of it is his fault, of course, it's his environment, but, you know, just like the list of things that he's done thus far really make you hope that they are utilizing the hell out of all of these mental health resources that MTV offers them to help save him from the chaos, the turmoil that he was born into. We did see once on the show that Jenelle refused to give Jace his medication, but it turns out that that is actually a regular thing, that she regularly refuses to give him his medication for ADD when he's with her. Barbara is following doctor's orders and giving them to him, but whenever he's at Jenelle's place, she refuses to, and she doesn't do it in order to like stick it to Barbara, when at the end it's only Jace who's really losing out. And that, I feel like, was a perfect opportunity for Dr. Drew to speak up and say, guys, you can't do that. Like, if a physician specifically orders you do this in the best interest of your child, do not neglect that. Otherwise, that's abuse, like medical abuse, is it not? And I wish that Dr. Drew would have used his platform there to speak out against it, but it seemed like he just wanted to let Barbara get it all out of her system and rant. She then says that she's nervous for Jenelle with David, which we already knew. And here's something that was really interesting. After the Florida shootings that happened at the school, she went to the local sheriff to report David and Jenelle and be like, you guys need to be on the lookout for these two. I wish that Dr. Drew would have asked her what she meant by that so we could get more information, because the only link between Jenelle and the Florida school that I know of is that David had posted a photo of her with a rifle the same day that those shootings happened. You know, I really wish we got more backstory from Barbara on what exactly she told the sheriff. Then she brings up the gun incident. Remember, Jenelle had Jace in the front seat of the car when they chased, when she followed someone down and pulled out a gun on them. And Again, Dr. Drew didn't even like condemn that at all. He just listened to her speak. She's like, can you believe the guns were just right out there in the car? They're everywhere around these children without being properly secured. Again, Dr. Drew didn't speak on that. I was like, come on, there's so many, because you're not going to be able to with Jenelle. She won't listen to you. She'll walk away. So while you're with Barbara, use this time to educate the audience on medical abuse, to educate them on like gun safety. Like, you know, don't keep guns out in the open around children. It's commonsensical, you would think, but so many people neglect to properly secure their weapons. She then goes, and by the way, Jenelle said that Jace lied about everything, even though it was true. Another opportunity for Dr. Drew to like shed light on something, this time gaslighting, emotional abuse, psychological abuse of your child, but he didn't. He just listened. I was like, oh my God, all these moments that you could be dragging her, you know, missed. Barbara let us know that David's been training these kids. Remember, Kaiser is like 3 years old, 4 years old, how to shoot guns as well. And then that's when he was like, whoa, I'm upset now. That's really upsetting. And we finally got like a really strong reaction out of him. And Barbara also lets us know that she and Kaiser's grandmother, Doris, always take bets or like joke about who's going to get shot first between the two of them by David. They both believe that he is capable of one day just knocking on their door, shooting them like point blank range, just because he's a really angry guy. And Dr. Drew's like, you know what, I've seen the symptoms that could cause you to feel that way, so I don't blame you at all for feeling that way. You know, but it is really morbid and scary. Poor Barbara's stories like were really, really, really hard to watch, like really triggering, I would imagine, for a lot of people as well. But I'm really happy that MTV continues, Teen Mom continues to give her the platform to be able to speak out about what goes on in the House of Horrors, because of course Jenelle is gonna lie and cover it all up. You know, she would throw her kids under the bus, off a bridge any day for David or any man who walked into her life. And this is what we're seeing via Barbara. You guys, that wraps up this episode of Teen Mom 2, part 1 of the season 8 reunion special. I hope you enjoyed this recap. Make sure to leave all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. You can also like this video, subscribe for more. Feel free to share it with your friends as well, and follow me across social media, where I absolutely love chatting with you. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.